Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the videos. Reddit, what is your creepy story of living alone or being alone in the house? My fiancé and I purchased a foreclosed home in a not so great neighborhood a few years back. We ignored the area because of the great price but now realize we were idiots because of things like this. I'm lying in bed, barely awake while watching TV. Fiancé is still at work so I can't sleep. It's 2 a.m. and I'm barely dozing to the crime show that was on when I hear scratching at the window. The window that was 1 foot away from me while lying in bed. I remember thinking damn squirrels when I heard the squirrels start cursing and mumbling. Then the sound of a screwdriver lifting the window frame starts up. I start screaming bloody murder that I have a gun and I'm calling the cops. The scratching noises stopped and by the time the cops got to my door and searched the yard, there was no one there. Thinking oh great, they think I'm crazy, I thank them and as they're walking back to their cruisers, their radios all started going off at once that there was another break-in reported in my neighborhood. The officers go scrambling off and I slam the door and lock it, once again, freaking out. I go get back in the bed to wait for fiancé to get home. He calls on his way and wants me to stay on the phone with him until he gets here. I hear loud footsteps on the wooden shed ramp in our backyard and say, oh good, you're home and hang up, walking to the back door. He called me straight back and told me he still wasn't even in the neighborhood so once again, I'm calling 911 and losing my shit. He and the cops got there at the same time and searched the yard again. Apparently they'd been getting calls all night about some meth head trying to break into the same few houses all night with a screwdriver. They'd been one step behind him the whole night and had cruisers everywhere. Oh, and the cursing at the window? One of the officers went to the bedroom window and saw the screen removed. Methwaz had disturbed a huge wasp nest when he took the screen off and my tiny little wasp defender saved the day. Yes, we are currently house hunting. This is sadly not a one-off. Over this past summer, I was living alone in my apartment in a relatively safe college town. I was always paranoid and locked the door anytime I got home from somewhere, especially since I'm a female living somewhere alone. One morning I woke up to go to the bathroom, and as I'm in there, I hear the front door creak open. Obviously scared, I carefully leave the bathroom and look around the corner to see the front door open about 6 inches. I slowly check the apartment for intruders only to find nothing. Somehow the door was unlocked while I was sleeping and opened by what I choose to call the wind. Needless to say, for the rest of the time I was alone in the apartment I had my knife close by. I was looking after my mother's house for a week while she was on holiday. She had 2 cats that come in and out the house via a cat flap, very nice animals. Always cuddly and playful even when they were old. So I get woken up in the middle of the night by loud meows from downstairs. I thought maybe the cat flap was stuck and they wanted to get out. I go downstairs to check and open the hallway door and there are at least 15 black cats sitting in the hallway staring back at me. Then I see my mother's cats sat amongst them just chilling and meowing happily. I left them all to it and they were gone in the morning. Last year I was renting a house in a small, economically depressed old mining town in Appalachia. I lived alone. On one of the first warm nights of spring, I awoke at around 4 a.m. to the sound of my doorknob turning. I figured someone must have the wrong address. But it kept turning, persistently. I didn't have a peephole or window to see who was outside, so I just approached the door from inside and yelled wrong place buddy. Then the door started shaking violently and a hand began punching it. I tried one last time, wrong place. Go away man. Someone on the other side growled at me and started making horrifying noises like a wild animal. I grabbed a kitchen knife and called the police, then waited inside. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. I opened it cautiously to see an officer who questioned me about the incident. Then he asked me to close it again and remain inside. Again, I couldn't see what was happening out there, so I just turned out the lights and waited quietly with the knife in my hand. For about 20 minutes, there was just silence. Then, out of nowhere, my living room window screen started to get pushed inside and the curtain started to move. The guy was pushing out the screen and trying to climb inside. I held up the knife and yelled, "I'm gonna kill you," in my most threatening voice possible. Thankfully, I immediately heard "Get on the ground. Show me those hands." Heard another horrible wail from outside as the guy was presumably tackled and taken to a police car. A few minutes later, another knock at the door. The officer was back to tell me that the suspect had been captured. This guy was a uniformed cop, but he was visibly trembling and super pale. I still hadn't seen what the intruder looked like. The next day, I ran into the officer while he was off duty, small town, and he told me that the suspect had told them his name was Jason Voorhees. Probably a meth addict or some other type of drug user. Those habits don't go well with delusions involving slasher film characters. I was 15 and my parents and I just moved into a house in a brand new development. My parents were at work, so I was doing what almost every teenagers do when school's out, sleeping late. It was maybe 11 when I woke up. I was on my way to the bathroom when I came face to face with a guy. Surprised, he ran out. A couple of minutes later, a knock on the door. It was the contractor apologizing for his guy. Apparently he was using our restroom and he didn't know someone had moved in. The furniture should have been a clue. My parents were furious and they changed the locks. I used to rent a room in a basement apartment. My friend's family lived in the real house upstairs, which is how I ended up there. They have a lot of family parties. Their first-generation Filipino family parties are a frequent thing. One day I was doing some homework in my room. The other two tenants weren't home, so I had apartment B to myself. But they were being so loud upstairs, I was having trouble focusing. So much chatter and feet moving around. Sounded like dancing was going on. I texted my friend, "You guys sound like you're really having a good time up there. I'm not really getting anything done, can I come up?" He texts back, "No one is home, we went to Wisconsin for the weekend." I went outside, saw that no one's car was there, and no lights were on in the house. And then I just went for a walk until someone else got home. Edit, since this got really big, I want to add 2 things. First, I'm moving back there this year. And second, they found human bones there this summer. Here's the story. Sleep tight, folks. Years ago my parents had their garage converted into an extra large bedroom. It's full of junk now, and this was where we all played games. I was about 10 and it was only the second or third time I had been left alone in the house while my siblings were all away for one reason or another. Naturally, I was up all night playing on our PS2 in there, having a blast. I don't know how late, but pretty late into it, I suddenly started hearing someone tapping on the window. They really went all out with the extra bedroom and actually replaced the garage door with a wall, window, and traditional front door you'd find on any house, complete with bolt and doorknob locks. Well, I didn't realize it was a sound not produced by my game for a full minute or so, and the sound, like someone drumming their fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 really quickly, kept going without stopping. I finally really noticed it when the doorknob rattled and the sound moved to the door, which made it louder. I freaked right the hell out and snuck to the door to double check the locks. They were both unlocked, but the door tended to jam and act like it was locked unless you put a lot of effort into it. I locked both locks, loudly so the person would know they definitely couldn't get in, but I just heard a gruff older man laugh and the sound got louder. Then he moved back to the window and called and let me in. "Love, I'm cold and hungry. Don't you want to be nice to your neighbor?" I turned out the light, ran to my room, and hid in the pitch dark under my blanket until my parents got home a few hours later from their anniversary date. I never told them because I was young enough to care more about getting in trouble because I stayed up past my bedtime. TL, doctor, I stayed up late alone playing PS2 and a creepy old man, possibly homeless, tried to get into my house. I came home from work and found that the seashells I have on a shelf in the bathroom were all in the sink. The shelf is located on the wall perpendicular to the sink, with a radiator under it, so if they had simply fallen off, they would have bounced off the radiator and hit the ground in pieces. Even if they did manage to fly off the shelf and land in the sink, they would have still have broken or chipped. But nope, they were all intact. Also, a year or 2 before this happened, I had come home to find a little ceramic fish from that shelf was sitting neatly next to the sink. I almost never touch that thing. I live alone in a studio apartment. I called the landlord, and he said there had been guys working on the house, but none had gone in, and it was minor maintenance stuff only. I have lived here for 8 years, however, and these are the only weird/creepy things that have happened, so I think I'm good. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.